Hello everybody, my name is Aaron Kopa with the Martz Group. I am the Corporate Director of Maintenance. The Martz Group was founded in 1908 and is currently a fifth generation family owned business. I'm going to give you a little tour of our Wilkes location. This happens to be our corporate headquarters. And let's start the tour. So this is actually our main offices. Everything from the executive team and most of our accounting staff will actually work out of this location. As you can see, this is early morning and we don't have anybody here yet except for the maintenance staff, but I'm sure all you guys know what that's all about. So, a little history on Martz. This building here you see was originally owned by Martz, and they sold it back in the, I believe it was the early 80s is when they sold this building. In some sections you can see it's almost attached to our offices. Now these offices were built back in the early 90s, and that's when all of the corporate staff ended up moving to this location as far as their offices go. Originally this was just the maintenance property and the offices were over on Wilkes Square. Now we're going to take a walk around the block here. And excuse my video taking skills. As you'll see, I'm definitely an amateur. So as you can see, we are right in the middle of a residential area with a little bit of industrial. Now this was the original property that they purchased back in 1908. This building we're going to be walking up to, again, is currently not owned by Martz, but I'll just give you a little bit of history. So this building, or this garage, was the original maintenance garage for Martz back in 1908. That door to the right goes up a ramp, and they would actually service the vehicles on the second floor of that building. Now the Martz building actually spreads out the entire block here, as you see. And again, if you look around, you just see a whole lot of houses. Back in 1908, the buses were a lot smaller and maneuvering through the streets was a lot easier. This house was used by the third generation of Martz. This would have been the owner where he stayed, which it's actually connected to the garage, and there's access into the garage from this house. This house is still owned by Martz to this day. This is one of our parking lots. This parking lot houses our fuel tanks, which is all underground storage. We keep 40,000 gallons, or have the ability to keep 40,000 gallons of fuel in the ground. There's actually 2 tanks, one on each side of this concrete slab. Now, Martz also owns a number of houses on this street, this being one of them. As property goes up for sale, we will make an offer on it for anything that's around our property that we may use in the future to expand parking. An example of that is where these vehicles are parked. Used to be another house that was purchased and torn down to do just that, expand their parking. We also own that gray house there. That was purchased about 6 years ago. And now I'll give you a little detailed operation of how we do things on our coaches as they return back from their trips. So as our coaches return, this is the street we come down. This would be Leonard Street in Wilkes-Barre, if anybody wants to look that up on Google Maps. You'll be able to do a street view and kind of see the turns that we're coming down to come into this property. To fit 2 buses through here, one would have to pull over to the side of the road and virtually park just to make sure we clear the mirrors. Before COVID, all these buses you see parked here would be out on their morning runs already, with the exception of about 10 buses, which would go out throughout the day, or maybe be sitting just due to lack of charters for that day. But like everybody else, this is not common to have this many buses at this property. We've actually had to do some creative parking just to fit all of our equipment, because we do not have the ability to actually park everything at this location. You'll see on the ground here, we actually have lines painted. These lines actually have nothing to do with the parking of our coaches. What these are for our third-party testing, which we are certified to do. So we'll bring drivers in without a CDL. We'll train them, get their CDL for them, do the road test portion, the pre-trip, and then all they do with the state is the written portion of their testing. So everything else is done by Martz and certified by Martz that they're trained. Again, all of those buses parked off to the left there are all parked there due to COVID. That parking lot was used for all of our drivers, but now we're just using it to store coaches so we can house them all here. So, as you saw, we walked up from the back there. Nightly, our buses will pull in, usually stop just before the door, and our cleaning staff will clean the buses, mainly sweeping out the inside. We'll then move into our wash rack. They'll hand wash the back and the front of the bus. They'll fuel the bus. We're using the Fuel Master system. And after they wash the front and back, what we'll do is start our automatic wash. This wash system is the Westmatic. We've had this system now for about 10 years. And overall, we've had very few problems with it. The brushes are actually on pressure sensors, so as they wear out, they'll move in closer to the coach. If there's any type of obstruction, the brushes will also back off. as we're washing this coach, I'll give you a little more history on Martz. The Martz group is made up of 3 companies right now. The one is Martz Trailways, which is up here in Pennsylvania. Then we have Martz Gold Line. We have that location down in Maryland. That services the DC market. And then we have our Florida operation in St. Petersburg. That operation is strictly a charter operation, with the exception of one Amtrak run that they do. Our Maryland location services the DC area, like I said, primarily doing MTA work. And then our Pennsylvania location is a scheduled service and charter business. Our scheduled service is to both Philadelphia and New York City, covering both the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area here and then the Poconos, which is where most of our commuters are picked up from. The Pennsylvania location also has another shop up in Stroudsburg, PA, which is right on the New Jersey line. All right, so from here, while the wash was running, we would have had our cleaners inside the coach, and they would be doing all the inside mopping, cleaning the windows, and just finishing up that cleaning process. We do keep our own rags, and we'll wash those rags ourselves just to save on money versus purchasing new rags or using some type of a disposable rag. All right, so next, after our cleaning process is completed, the coach is pulled up onto our inspection pit, where we do a DOT inspection on every coach as it comes back. So from here, our technician would start a work order, which right now, this is another, because of COVID thing, we don't have any staff on right now on the day shift. All of our staff is currently working 3rd shift, as that's when our coaches are all here. Before COVID, we did have a small staff of 3 technicians, and then we had our 5 technicians at night for this location. So currently the only thing that remains is our 5 technicians at night. So once we pull the coach up here, this is where we will put the DEF in. We separated this just to cut down on confusion. But as you see, and I'm sure like everybody else, we still have some confusion. These signs are on here because it happened already. Another thing we've done is decaled all of our doors to help identify what fluid goes into what area and also where the battery is. So just to give you a quick overview, what our technicians will do, again, is come down and do a complete DOT inspection, checking for the obvious problems, our brakes, air leaks, any type of fluid leaks. They'll also check the fluid levels, coolant, oil, transmission fluid, if it's an Allison transmission. Now again, this operation, or this building, is the original building from 1908. They started the maintenance in that first building I showed you, but they also owned this building, and once the buses became bigger, they started utilizing it. So once we're done with our pit inspection, as long as there's nothing wrong with the coach will be moved back around the back parking lot. And if you look off in the distance there, you'll see our Martz sign, and that's where we started our tour. All right, so now let me give you a little overview of our main shop here. We do have one service pit over in the main shop. Now this area is all repairs that we would be doing. This is where all of that happens. Right now I'm in basically the middle of the shop. You'll see we basically have one single bay that comes through the shop. And we only perform work up to this point. So this would be the last area that we would actually make repairs to the coaches, is where this one's sitting. Everything up front there we use for storage, parking of our sprinters, parking of our vans, and we're currently parking our Temsa buses in that location also. So again, you'll see the absence of any technicians. This job here, we're currently doing an MCI radiator replacement. This is on a J model. This is one of the tools we built to make the job easier and safer. So this is our radiator jack. Now this allows us to jack and pull the whole module out, and then we'll replace the radiator. This was made from a Harbor Freight heavy-duty transmission jack. We made the brackets for it, and then we also welded on some extension legs to compensate for the forward weight that's on the unit once we pull the module out. If anybody has J models, you'll know that fan gearbox sits on the other side there, so you do have a lot of weight on that other side. This is our parts room, or a portion of it. This is our main parts room. We do keep just over $300,000 worth of parts on hand at this location. That includes the parts that are in this location. We have a small parts storage on the other side of the wall here. Our radius rods, some of our airbags that we stock, brake chambers. This is our filter storage. Some fans, and then like most shops, you'll see all the building maintenance supplies, because as you know, that falls in the garage also. Upstairs here, all we have is some obsolete part storage. We have our battery storage area here. And we also do charging. Some of our distilled water for our battery maintenance. And then because of the size of the shop, during the summer, you'll see that we end up doing maintenance outside also, just outside the doors. We're currently working on the HVAC system, as everybody can see on this one. This one's been a challenge for us, as it had a leak that the technicians had a hard time finding. This was a coach that was sitting for over a year that we are starting to in-service as business ramps up. This is a 2013. This coach sat for just about 300, I guess 80 some days. So just over a year. All the refrigerant ended up leaking out of the system, and we had an O-ring on a discharge line that we've never changed before that ended up deteriorating, and that was our issue. But we had a hard time finding that refrigerant leak. And it took them just about a week to finally find it. We have our nut and bolt storage here, some flammables. This is my office. Excuse the mess. This office becomes everything from a project holder for stuff that's in the works, you know, test bench, just about a little bit of everything. And here is our training room. Again, this is for our third-party testing. And this is where we'll do all of our testing, all the paperwork testing, or training, I should say, for our drivers. At this location, we will actually do just about all repairs, including major overhauls on engines. This is the only location that will do those type of repairs. Our other locations, all that work is sent out. This is our break room for our mechanics, our technicians. These are our core values of Martz. That top core value pretty much sums up the rest of the core values. And that was something that Mr. Henry, Frank Henry, promoted often. So in here we have a refrigerator. It is air conditioned for our technicians, and we have a full kitchen, including a stove and microwave. The idea behind this was kind of like the firehouse type break rooms that you'll see, where there's a fully operational kitchen. We do utilize, the microwave for the most part, but during the summer and spring we do have monthly cookouts for the technicians and also the office staff. So that's our grill. And again, just some outside seating for our technicians. And we have the little carport just to keep everybody dry when it is raining. So the rest of our shop here, you'll see totes here. These totes are just engine oil. In the winter, we do burn our engine oil. We have multiple waste oil burners throughout the shop. Again, like I said, this area is mainly storage and parking. We store all of our tires down here. These tires come to us mounted. We don't mount any of our own tires at any of our locations. We set up mounted tire programs with vendors in those areas. Our Sprinter vans, we currently have 3 Sprinter vans at this location, and we have 1 Sprinter van at our Florida location. These ones are always parked inside. We have our trailer here. That trailer is used with the Sprinter vans for luggage, if somebody's going on a cruise trip. And then we park our vans in here also. We have 1 out right now. 1 van is used for safety, the other one is used by operations. That may be sent out for, with relief drivers on longer charters. So what we'll usually do is send the van out a date advance of that longer charter. They'll stay in a hotel overnight. Our buses will leave out the following day, go to that location, which is usually at the end of their allowable log time. These drivers will be rested up. They'll take over the charter and keep it moving. All right, so this is the entrance to our main office. This is our operations department in there. And I'll give you a quick view of it. Uh-oh. This is Tom doing our morning cleaning. It's our charter operation. Back in this area is our IT. And just to give you an idea where we're at, that's where the video started. These are our double doors that you would come into. And this is our lobby. Upstairs here is where our accounting department is. Now again, most everything is done at this location for all of our locations. So the customer service, all those calls are routed through here. And then also our accounting staff. Our conference room. This is our office staff, break room, kitchen. They do not have the oven that the shop has. And then in there would actually be the current chairman, which is Scott Henry. The company is run right now by Scott Henry and his brother John Henry. All right, so we're back to our inspection bay here, which I'm sure you saw it when I was walking through, but this is also some of our parts storage for more of our bulky items. You know, that would include our windshields. We have some condenser cores on hand, some of the side windows for the J models and bin boxes. And then we have radiators, transmissions, some differentials. Another Allison transmission. And then that's a DD13 engine that we purchased from MCI. That engine was pulled out of the coach, or one of the coaches, that they ended up doing the electric conversion on. All right, well, thank you for the virtual visit, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you.